Good afternoon and welcome to this session about agriculture and horticulture of Business Day, Spain and Portugal. We've had two quite successful webinars this morning about the economic outlooks and a general state of mind in Spain and Portugal, and one about renewable energy. So if you are interested in looking at those two, that is possible because in the upcoming week, you'll receive an email with the links to watch those sessions on demand. So no worries if you missed those this morning, and glad to have you here. Maybe it's your first session of today, a very warm welcome. And if you've seen a few, also glad you're still here. So in this session, we will explore the business opportunities for the Dutch businesses in Spain and Portugal in the agriculture and horticultural business. So lots to talk about, but maybe good to know that Spain and Portugal, the sector of agri and horticulture was least hit during the COVID-19 pandemic, and even more people showed interest in healthy foods. And also the ongoing conversation is how to make sure that the production is adapted to the ongoing climate change and so forth. So we have lots to talk about this afternoon. And in the first half, we will have a financial outlook by the Dutch Rabobank with Cindy van Rijswijk, Senior Analyst, Fruit and Vegetables, Floriculture from the Rabobank. As I said, so glad you're here in the studio.
Thank you.
Very luxury position to be in. And then onwards, we'll go to Manuel Valverde. He's the partner and leader of the retail and consumer sector for PricewaterhouseCoopers. And we'll talk about business opportunities for investors and also for the agri-food sector in Spain. And in the second half of this webinar, we're going to talk about how to get started with one of those businesses. And we do that with Ferry Eindhoven, Managing Director, Portugal of Frestia. And I also already see you in the image. Good to have you here this afternoon, Ferry. I can see you wave, maybe the people at home not, but in this case, there you are. And afterwards, we're going to sharing experiences on the current developments in the horticultural sector in Spain and Portugal. And we're going to do that with our three entrepreneurs panel with Jan van der Blom, Head Production Technique Department of Coexval Spain, Christian Reinders, General Manager at Bejo Iberica, and Jacques van Schie, Director and Owner of Jacques van Schie BV. So a full program. Let's get started. Good for you to know, we have some poll voting questions. So I'm going to bring up the first one. In which sector are you active? That's always good to know for the people seated here at the table or at the digital table. So please use your vote. You can choose between food sector, agriculture sector, fisheries, horticulture sector, water, forestry, or agro-technology or other. And if you choose the other option, please send us via the chat, because you can use that also what the sector is you're interested in and working for. And we would love to hear those answers come in, or love to see those answers come in. And if you have any questions for our speakers as well, you have plenty of possibility to ask those, to submit those to the studio via the chat. We have some moderators in the background behind the scenes answering your questions as well. So hopefully we'll get to that. And I can see lots of people voting for other, and we have a second poll vote as well. So let's bring up that second question. Which information do you need to make your business a success in Spain or Portugal? Because that's what it's all about today, because we want to make sure that we're helping you to do business, to maybe keep you from some pitfalls that we've already experienced. And that's why we have such a various and diverse panel here today. You can choose for the information that you're interested in market sector information, networking, business culture of Spain and Portugal, rules and regulations, tips and tricks, maybe some experiences of other entrepreneurs, plenty of those, and COVID-19 business impact. Of course, that will be addressed as well. So make sure to use that second poll voting as well. And Cindy, thank you for coming to the studio today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to travel all the way to The Hague.
Was it a long drive?
No, I live close to Utrecht, so it's not that far.
That's close by. That's close by. So maybe you could tell our audience at home, what is it you do at the Rabobank?
I'm part of the global Rabo research team and focusing actually on the horticulture sector, so mainly fruits, vegetables, and a little bit flowers.
Okay. So the past year with COVID-19, as I said in the introduction, they weren't hit that hard, or did you see otherwise in the facts and figures?
No, in the first place, there was quite a panic reaction when the lockdowns came in, but eventually it turned out that the horticulture sector was very resilient and did actually quite well in several countries. So that's positive news.
That's positive news. So which developments, when we take a look forward then, because the past year we have the facts and figures, which developments can be seen for the coming years?
Oh, there's a lots of developments going on. I think positive are the focus on healthy food. I think sustainability could also be an opportunity for the horticulture sector. And yeah, there's a lot of things happening, of course, in e-commerce, in logistics, robotics. So there's a lot of new technologies adopted in the industry, which is quite exciting.
And all these new business coming up, the sectors are blooming sometimes, but the way these businesses is set up, is there a change?
Yeah, we do see that businesses get bigger, that the sector becomes more consolidated, and that there's also more integration into the supply chain. So growers and marketers, they work more closely together. So, and also in the cooperative space, or especially in Spain, a lot of growers are organized through cooperatives, and they also get bigger and bigger and more professional and really well organized, I think.
So getting back to the Rabobank, from I was going to say ancient perspective, but history perspective, how was the Rabobank set up? Why was it started once?
Well, yeah, it was actually started by farmers. So that some had money that they could lend to others, and others needed the money to expand business. So, and since that time, food and agribusiness has been really important for Rabobank and still is.
So how do you help the businesses being set up?
In some countries, we have local presence where we can actually finance farmers. In other countries, we have offices that mainly support big corporates in the food and agribusiness. So cooperatives, beer brewers, dairy processors, so the bigger companies. And that's also the case in Spain. But we also have international desks that can help Dutch businesses that want to go abroad or start business abroad. And we always have to look case by case in what way we can help.
So you, as a Dutch company or Dutch business, you could go to a Dutch Rabobank here in the Netherlands, but also maybe abroad for the international offices.
Yeah, you can go to your local relationship manager and ask him to connect you with our international desk, and they can help you finding a local bank or partner, or maybe for a solution that we can provide ourselves. So there's different ways. We also have a broad network that might be of help. So there's lots of things to offer.
So what are the most important trends that you see going on at the moment?
In what
maybe in the agricultural sector, what's business that is going strongly, maybe focusing on environmental impact, or
I think overall the business is doing pretty well at the moment. Yeah, but of course, like always, it's changing year by year. So, and that's one of the characteristics of horticulture and agriculture, that there's so much change all the time, and that good years will be followed by bad years and so on. But I think the companies in this sector are pretty resilient and are really well coping with this. But we do see that there's a little bit more stability coming in the business. So because growers more often have fixed price agreements with retailers, it becomes a little bit more stable.
Okay, that's good news.
That's good news, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of opportunities would there be for instance, the high-tech sector?
I think for Dutch businesses, they really have to take into account that the Spanish horticulture is completely different with a different production system, and that they have to customize their solutions for that. So they really have to adapt the solutions and fit it to the local circumstances. So I think the Spanish system is called low-tech or mid-tech, and there are certain high-tech solutions that really fit in the system, but you cannot just copy the Dutch solutions to the Spanish or Portuguese situation. That will go wrong, I think. So often from our perspective, it's low tech, so Dutch want to improve it, but I think they have to find solutions that fit into the Spanish system. And I'm sure that in the future, they will also adopt some high-tech solutions like digital solutions, sensors, management tools, dashboards into the more low-tech system. There's also a lot of opportunities to combine that. And especially also the fruit growing sector in Spain and Portugal is really, really, really big. It's one of the biggest globally. There's a lot of exports. So for crops like citrus, berries, there's also increasing need for digital solutions, but also high quality inputs. There's a lot of opportunities actually. So not only in the greenhouse space, we often look at that mainly, but also in the fruit sector. And what we see as Rabobank is that there's currently a lot of interest also from investors, for example, from South America, but also even from the US and Northern Europe to invest in Spanish businesses because there's still a lot of opportunity for them to grow and to become dedicated suppliers to big supermarkets all over Europe. So that's an interesting business case.
Lots of opportunities there.
Yeah, exactly.
We could just there was just shown in the image in the slide, as you could see, maybe some main differences between Spain and Portugal. Maybe we can bring that slide up again.
Yeah, there are big differences. Of course, Spain is really the vegetable and fruit garden of Europe. Portugal, the sector is pretty small, very diverse. And they have several different climate conditions, which also offers opportunities to grow certain products in different times of the year. So that's interesting. But Spain is much more export focused and has a longer tradition of growing fruits, vegetables, and ornamental products. I think ornamentals is not that big a sector, but that also provides some opportunities, maybe to relocate from Africa to south of Europe, or to produce products currently produced in the Netherlands, in Spain or Portugal. So there's, I think, different opportunities also in ornamentals and the other sectors.
Well, thank you so much. That looks like a I was going to say a sunny outlook. So lots of opportunities there for the Dutch entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think the sectors in Spain and Portugal do have a sunny outlook because the companies are really flexible over there. They can adapt quickly to different situations. So that's very important. And that's also because it's low investment and low cost production. Often they can easily adapt to all kinds of challenges, and they have survived so many crises and difficult situations, and they're still number one in exporting globally. That's quite amazing. I think the position that they build and continue to keep.
And maybe even something we can learn from as such.
I think so, yeah. Especially the flexibility of the companies over there is quite amazing, I think, and interesting. We cannot really copy that to the Netherlands one by one, but there is definitely things that we can also learn from them. So, and there's also ways to cooperate, I think.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and expertise. And while you have been voting from home, I'll just let me check if there are any questions on the chat. Not yet. So if you have some questions, feel free to ask them, of course, because that's what we're here for. That's what the chat is for. So Cindy van Rijswijk, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you would like to say to our audience as a final statement?
Yeah, if they have any questions on the Spanish or Portuguese market or on financial services or the networks that we can provide, please contact Rabobank. You can find the details somewhere, I think. So
I think there are plenty of details online,
yeah.
And also via the B2Match app, it's possible to connect as well.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Then let me take a look at what you voted from home. So the first poll voting question, always good to get to know you a bit better. Let me see. Is this the first one? Which information do you need to make your business a success in Spain and Portugal? I have the second one up, I think, but that's okay. Let's do that one first. Most of you said networking, always a very important one. That's good because that's what the B2Match platform is there for as well. So make sure to use that. And if we take a look at the other poll question, the first one, most of you are in agricultural sector, some in food, 26%, and 32% said other. So please use the chat to inform us which other sector you're working for as well. So that would be good to know. Maybe we can address that here in the studio. So our next guest is Manuel Valverde from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
It's a pleasure. So, hi everyone.
You look, we just talked about it, a very fancy screen behind you, a studio environment. You feel at home already in studio?
Yeah, everything's fine here.
Doing so much online business, I can imagine that it feels like a second home.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we were digital before the COVID, but all these COVID situations helps us to do everything even more online and digital. So yeah, I normally invest half of the day calling through Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, and all these platforms.
So maybe could you tell our audience a bit more about what is it you do at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
Yeah, I'm a partner in the deals division. My expertise is on the retail and consumer sector. And in terms of my day-to-day, I perform financial due diligence. So whenever a company is trying to be sold, either on the sell side or on the buy side, I help the actors on a transaction to define what is the value of the company.
Yes, and you wrote an article for El Economista, a newspaper.
Yeah, that's right. Recently, we were asked to share what is our view on the agriculture sector in the M&A market. So as I was, in the last 3-4 years, I performed quite a lot of transactions for different actors. I have the opportunity to share my knowledge and my view on the agriculture M&A market, Spanish market. Yeah.
Well, I can imagine not all of our viewers have read the article. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about the developments that you're describing in that article.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I mean, the Spanish agriculture sector, it was not a sector which the financial investors, funds, private equities, and any other financial investors to look at it. I mean, all the volatility of this market generates fears, and generates circumstances that the financial investors doesn't want to have. So it was not an interesting sector. But from now and probably the last 4 or 5 years, there has been people looking at this market, understanding better what are the trends and what are the conditions of the agriculture market. So they tried and they start investing in big companies in terms of the size of the agriculture companies here in Spain, with normally leading one of the products where they are selling, and with some knowledge on the brands that they commercialize, right? So we had that, for example, one of our biggest private equities here in Spain called Proa, almost 5 years ago acquired Moica, which is a company, producer company on seedless grapes, which is the main export company on grapes from Spain to UK. Now they are adding to this activity some production in Latin America, and they started that. After that, we had another big private equity called Miura, based in Catalonia, which also generates a big player called Citrico with all the oranges, lemons, and also peaches, nectarines. So this is another successful story. And finally, another of the recent transactions here, Magnum, another private equity, acquired Agrupa Lettuce, which is a company based in Almeria. Agrupa Pulpi is the official name for that company, which is a leading producer on lettuce and watermelons. So that is more or less the trends that we are seeing here.
So those are big companies that we're talking about. Could you maybe give us a small insight on the smaller businesses? How do you foresee their future?
Yeah, it's true that this is another characteristic of the Spanish market. It is quite fragmented. Some of that companies, which I call big companies, are companies selling around 100 or between 100 million euros or 300 million euros, which is big for us here in Spain, but it's far below some other companies worldwide, right? But these kind of companies are, as I said, leaders on their products. So it's quite easy for them, as they have access to the market, as they have access to the big retailers that are operating in Europe, to acquire other companies with lower sizes. It's true that this is the way of getting the returns on the private equity, that they acquire that companies at a lower value, and then they try to sell it, combine everything and getting the synergies, and trying to get the sale 4 or 5 years after the first acquisition to another actor here, probably corporates or even other private equities that will continue the growth on that company. So that situation is quite common in Spain because we have a lot of companies in the range of 15, 20 million sales to 100 that add a lot of things to this first acquisition, right? It's also a common characteristic here that most of that companies are family-owned, coming for the 3rd or 4th generation. So you know that when then that situations happen, there are some circumstances, and well, you never know who is the right guy to make the succession of the managing of the business. So the private equities are looking that also as an opportunity because they help them in these succession plans. So they acquire, let's say, the operating company, normally called OpCo. So they get all the know-how on doing all the agriculture activity, and they separate the lands that they put it on the PropCo company, right? So that is the way to helping all that families to retain what the ancestors just delegate on them, so they get a stable amount of money coming from the rents of that lands, and private equity just get this business performance increasing by adding new companies, new products, new clients, so they increase the commercialization nature of these big companies. At the end is what the retailers are asking to the producers, to give them a sustainable production along the year. And if they give us even more than one product, it's even better for them. They control everything. They have the knowledge and the reliance on someone that has been doing great for a long time in a specific product, and then they put new products and they add products along the whole year, which is also important for the retailers.
Yeah, so you keep the family values, but you incorporate it in bigger businesses, and therefore it's easier to export, to have shorter network connections.
right. That is the business case for most of these companies and for most of these private equities looking for these assets, right?
And are there also corporate activities for the mergers?
Yeah, yes, there are. I mean, in Spain, we have several companies active. One of them is Grupo Alimentario Citrus, which recently has acquired companies in North Europe. They also had some agreements with some of the distributors and local producers in Germany, Netherlands, Romania also. So we are seeing also corporates looking at these transactions. So yes, it's not only a question of financial investors, also the corporates that want to follow this market trend coming from the retailers, asking for having more stable production coming to the supermarkets. There are corporate companies here in Spain and companies from America or from the rest of the Europe looking for assets here in Spain, yes.
So what would be your advice for the Dutch entrepreneurs?
There is a lot to do here. I completely agree with Cindy. What you were saying that the situation of the Spanish market is low tech, mid tech, more or less. There is a lot of things to do here to improve our production mechanism from the very beginning. I mean, the relationship between the producer, local producer, with the breeders in all that situation with licensed seeds is something that we need to invest and to improve. There is also a lot of things to do in incorporating new machinery in the production and on the packaging. So my advice is just to take a look on our opportunities. The growth of the market is clear, coming from the increase in the population, the world population. Also these healthy habits that makes both fruits and vegetables quite interesting. So right now, what I see from my clients is that the big issue and the time-consuming issue that they have right now is not how to sell it. It's more how to get access to that production. So I believe that if there is someone from Netherlands looking for a business opportunity here in Spain, clearly the agriculture sector is one of the best opportunities that we have right now. And also Cindy was saying that this COVID situation for a lot of industries generate a lot of stress in the agriculture sector, in all these companies not affected by Eureka. The resilience character of the agriculture is incredible. They are making right now the records in terms of sales and volumes. So quite happy on my professional experience, just helping my clients, but also these companies that I have helped in the past, they are doing great and they are looking for another opportunities and going to other countries now to get that footprint increasing on the activity.
Thank you so much for your time, Manuel Valverde. And I can see that no questions yet coming in, but you can also be reached via the B2 Match app. So thank you so much for your time and joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks. You're welcome.
So our next guest seated at the digital table is Ferry Eindhoven. And Ferry, your company was before called Atlantic Growers Portugal, but right now you are Managing Director Portugal for Frestia. So maybe you could inform us a bit about how that came to pass.
Thank you for the invitation and welcome everybody. My name is Ferry Eindhoven. I was born in an agricultural family. However, I chose to study political science in the University of Nijmegen and discovered that in the end politics is not my thing. So I went back to the to the agriculture sector, which is still very close to my heart. I came here in '95, started up a small family business in Portugal. We are located in the southwest of Portugal. So at this moment, I am on a changing point, having spent 26 years in Holland and 26 years in Portugal. So I feel almost more Portuguese than Dutch now. In the year 2000, we started up with my partners. I started up Atlantic Growers Portugal. Atlantic Growers Portugal is being set up by 3 brothers and me as a local person. I had land here in Portugal and speak the language and have the local contacts, local and regional contacts. My partners from Holland had the market and the clients, so we joined together and set up Atlantic Growers in the year of 2000. Nowadays, Atlantic Growers has a production capacity of 19 hectares of glass greenhouse. And we have together we have another 14 hectares of glass greenhouse in Holland. We have now almost 200 employees, and exporting 90% of our products to the north of Europe. We are focused on tasty quality products, pepper, mini pepper, mini tomato, especially the nice tasting, the better tasting varieties, which our clients, especially in UK, Marks & Spencer, Waitrose, Sainsbury are, and they're willing to pay a little bit more for a quality product without any residues and produced in an environmental friendly way. So our philosophy is to produce the same way as we do in Holland. It doesn't matter for our clients whether the product comes from Portugal or from Holland. We produce in the same way.
So what would you say? What would you say is the advantage of being a half Dutch, half Portuguese company?
I think mainly 2 things. We are making the combination of Dutch technology with the Portuguese climate. We think this area in Portugal is perfect for growing a year round. It's light enough in winter to produce, and it's not as hot as in Spain. Not a bad word about Spain, of course, especially not today. But the temperatures here in summer are not as high as in other areas of south of Europe. So we can make the combination about technical know-how from Holland together with the conditions we have here, but we also make the combination of the market know-how in Holland and make that combination to produce it here, but with a view to market it to our clients in Northern Europe.
You also supply your products to the Portuguese market, right? Or only for the northern market?
No, a couple of years ago we started also supplying a couple of supermarkets here in Portugal. Our experience is that the population in Portugal, there was also a group within the population that have a little bit more to spend nowadays. So I think the consumers who are looking for a quality product are nowadays are more than 20 years ago or 25 years ago.
So what would your advice be for the Dutch entrepreneur who wants to export to Portugal or do business in Portugal?
I think Portugal is different than Holland in terms of doing business. It works a little bit more in an informal way. In Holland, we are more direct persons. Here it takes a little bit more effort, it takes a little bit more time, build up a network. You have to be here in Portugal. You cannot do it from a distance. Normally you find out in official meetings, you find out one thing, but during a lunch or a dinner with the same people, you find out different things, and you get a different sort of information. So I would say, well, spend a lot of time in it, and be here locally. Try to speak the language. Try to get involved in the Portuguese society.
Do you think those are the most important things to keep in mind when trying to build a local network?
I think from a business perspective, there are the two kinds of business. One is to invest in Portugal to start up a business in terms of producing or exporting. I think there's lots of opportunities. Another type of business is exporting from Holland or from Northern Europe to Portugal. I think that's then you have to know that Portugal is still a very small country, so you cannot scale up very easily because the population is not as big as in Holland. So that's a challenge to sell. So don't expect lots of sales in a quick amount of time.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Ferry. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to, you can stay online, because maybe we have some questions for you coming in. Then I can ask them for you later on. And of course, we'll get to our Dutch panel right now. But if you want to tune in, maybe say something, just give a shout out, and we'll put you in between. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So right now we're going to go to our entrepreneur panel, I should say, because they're going to share the experience on development in the horticultural sector in Spain and Portugal. And joining us are Jan van der Blom, Head of Production Techniques in Coexval, Spain. Hello. Could you hear us?
Goedemiddag.
Yes, good afternoon. Christian Reinders, General Manager at, I'm going to say Bejo Ibérica. Is that correct?
Just put on my microphone. Yeah, it's Bejo Ibérica in Spanish, Bejo zaden in Dutch.
In Dutch,
yeah.
Exactly. And natuurlijk Jacques van Schie, Director of Jacques van Schie BV. Good to have you here, Jacques.
Good to stay here. You have to hear everything. I've also a lot of experience. I hope I can share it with you, but we will see.
I have some questions for you lined up, so hopefully everything will come to mind. And if we have the time, of course, we can expand on that. So maybe we can start with some short introductions that might be good for the people at home. Jan, as Coexval Spain, what is your mission?
Coexval is the Association of Horticulture Producing Companies. So our members are the cooperatives and auctions who are commercializing fruits and vegetables. So we have our direct colleagues in the Netherlands in the Groente- and Fruithuis, and we have a very good contact with them. We have also common interests. So our mission is simply to be a non-profit service organization for our associated companies. We have a representative function towards the administration, etc. And at this moment, a large part of our mission is looking at sustainability of our production techniques, of our way of working. But I understand we'll come back to that in a moment.
Yes, we'll get back to that. Thank you. Christian, could you maybe tell us a bit more about Bejo Ibérica? We also have a video of Bejo, but I'm not sure if this is the moment to show it.
Well, I can talk whilst you show the video. But anyway, we are a seed breeding company, a family-run seed breeding company based in the Netherlands. I'm general manager of Spain and Portugal, and we operate actually over the whole world. In the global scenery, we are a small player, but we're very specialized in outdoor vegetables, so onions, carrots, and brassica, basically. Those are the three main ones. We have 50 crops.
We sell in about over 100 countries in the world. And in Spain, our main mission is to breed varieties which adapt to the climate in Spain, which will reduce the necessity to use chemical to sustain a good, healthy crop. And we also work a lot on taste and organic assortment.
Thank you. And Sjaak, what is it that you do with Sjaak van Schie BV?
I'm still the owner, yes. Also, my son is involved now for 1 year. I start in 98 in Portugal. And the first mission was to grow good carnations in the wintertime. I was in the moment carnation grower. After a few years, the carnations will be less popular, and I looked for another crop, and that was hydrangeas. Now we have still 2 companies, one in Holland and one in Portugal, and a small one in Uganda only for cutting. But we produce now more or less 23 million cuttings. That's a market share of 45% in Europe. We're producing whole finished plants. That's a plant that it's almost done. It's for the growers. They have big actions for the supermarkets, 10 million plants, and we flowering plants more or less 1.5 million plants in Europe. We have more or less in Portugal. We have more or less 10 hectares under plastic and 35 hectares open field. We have there more in average 250 workers and 100 fixed workers year round in Portugal. In Holland, we have more or less the same, a little bit less workers because the labor in Holland is a lot more expensive than Portugal. We are investing in both countries a lot, but that's only to make the quality better for the hydrangeas. We're busy to make better conditions for the plants and also for the clients, for everything. Okay.
Yeah, so now doing business in both countries. So what would be the biggest difference between the Netherlands and Portugal, and how sustainable is it in Portugal?
We are in Portugal. We are behind Holland, especially in water quality. We have really good water in Portugal, but we are recycle. We start to recycle now the water. We do that out our mind setting because we think it's sustainable. To throw all the water away is not good. In Holland, is that a must? They control you about your water. It's not allowed to throw water away. I think Portugal is in this case 10 years behind. I hope that the government look also to the water management. We can do a lot better in Portugal, I think. But I don't know what the reason is that they are so far behind the Dutch. Because we are one Europe, and I think one rule is maybe better. A few years behind is not bad, but more than 10 years, that's too far away. What we do also is now we make our cool facilities in Portugal to cool the plants, the hydrangeas. You must cool them, otherwise they start to run out, and then you have to plant them, and then you can make a program. We make a cool store more or less 1 hectare, and we try to get the energy from also sun panels, and also the warm water that came out of the cooling generators we use again in our greenhouses. That's something new for Portugal, but but I think we as a company we think that sustainability is the future. Therefore, we do what we can.
Yeah, so lots of opportunities also there. I can hear in your story for the Dutch entrepreneurs watching at this moment. So let's switch to Jan. Which possibilities and opportunities do you see for the Dutch entrepreneurs in Spain? Because you have a lot of knowledge about the Spanish fruit and vegetable producers over there.
Yes, well, sustainability is a key issue. We have to work on all aspects, and basically you can divide it in three different issues. First of all, this diminishment of pesticide use. Well, that's the reason why I'm here. I started for a Dutch company, for Koppert, in 1993 in Spain, and I worked for Koppert for 10 years, and then I was contracted by the association where I work now. And we have reached a lot. We have managed to implement biological control on a very large scale. So we're doing well, and there has been a very clear Dutch input. A second thing and second issue is the recycling of all residues. We need to not only recycle the old crops, but also plastic, which is a fundamental part of our production system. And of course, there are things to be improved. That's very much on the move. We are making huge advances. In fact, the amount of plastic that's recycled from horticulture is far higher than the percentage that's recycled from the household residues, so the plastic that's thrown away by each one of us in the normal household. And then the third thing is that we have to optimize the use of water and fertilizers. That was already referred to by Mr. Maschi. That has not really been such an important issue. It's becoming more and more important. We have to bear in mind that the production system is very different. By far most of the greenhouses are having their crops in soil, and that's not going to change very quickly. One of the reasons is that the organic production is very important and increasingly important, and that can only be done in soil. So technology for optimizing water and fertilizers in soil systems is a very important issue. And I know that there are Dutch companies and Dutch research institutes who can contribute to that. We've seen some of them in projects, investigation projects, and we've seen some of them on the market here. And that's something where I expect that we are going to make big progress also in the years to come.
Thank you so much. And I see that in your answer, you already answered the question coming in from the chat. So that was a perfect addition towards each other. Christian, so we talked about Spain, but of course the last year has been a different year from any year we had before. So maybe we can talk about what was changed by COVID due to Corona. And did it change anything in the business culture in Spain, maybe?
I think so. I think that a lot of people learned how to work at home, work online. Spain has one of the best networks for communication in Europe, so that was not an issue, and people adapted and learned to adapt really quickly. In our clients, which are the big farmers who export to Europe, for them it was a big challenge, huge challenge, because they had to work from one day to another without any measures, and they were just being imposed on. Some of the measures were being imposed because of the COVID. So no transport. You can imagine these farmers have 500 people working, and they were not allowed to go in their own cars, and they were not allowed to go together in cars. So the buses, they had to buy 60 new buses. Every day they needed 2 masks. Each mask at that stage was costing €1. So those were enormous challenges for our clients to work in this situation. And I think it's generally, I mean, if you look at the bright side of it, it's given some general hygiene to the whole chain. I mean, that's on the bright side. But yeah, there have been some challenges, and a lot of the things will be kept will keep being enhanced due to the COVID, and the measures will carry on. So in a positive sense.
In a positive way. Okay, that's great. Maybe we can take a look at the video of Abejo. Exploring nature never stops. So I'm just taking a look at the technique. Is it possible to maybe have some explanations of Christian as a voiceover? It's a yes. So Christian, if you want to add anything to the video, feel free to do so.
Well, yeah, I'll just start talking anyway. Yeah, we're based in Holland, as you can see out of the picture, but we operate in the whole world. And yeah, what we are trying to do is have a very sustainable way of working. I mean, that's in our backbone in the company. So, we are very social. We have a lot of projects, with education. We're very strong in organic vegetables, for instance. We have more than 1,000 bee colonies, which we maintain. We also use for pollination, but we also maintain them in all over the world. Because without bees, we don't have any fruits and vegetables on our plate. And I think a lot of people have heard or read about the bees, but one thing is saying it, another thing is really taking care of it. So we also take care of, as you can see, our soils. In Beo and Murcia, where we have an experimental farm, we're actually doing work on seeing if we can do circular agriculture, which is interesting, a project which we have just initiated a couple of years ago. And we're also doing a project where we can see if we can be independent from any chemical fertilizer. That's a big challenge, especially in Murcia, which is a desert. So we collect rainwater, we have natural filters. So, but the whole basis for this is water management and having water. So that comes in line with what Jan also said. Water Ferry said. Water is essential. I mean, I think Monday we had a big manifestation of our farmers in Murcia going to Madrid because they want to cut or restrict the water movement across Spain to Murcia, and that's of course a big problem. Another alternative is to make catchment basins in Murcia, but it's legislation, politics is a lot of the times in the way of trying to establish good water networks. What else can I say about our activity in the world? Every time we're looking for more resistant varieties using the techniques which are available at the moment in Europe. In other parts of the world, some of the breeding techniques are more open and are accepted. In Europe, we must be careful that we don't compete ourselves out of the market by making too many restrictions. That's an important political game, really. We are the basis of the whole food chain, and we work together with a lot of our farmers to develop new varieties and to publish the future. So we have to work now for varieties which will be from 5 to 20 years in advance. So we have to think ahead.
Yeah. So you take the Green Deal maybe as inspiration as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, 25% of Europe should be organic, so we're working hard on that. Spain, the organic mentality, and so there's a big opportunity there for farmers to help to create an organic will, so to speak, especially in the vegetable sector. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. You went a bit robotic in between, but I think we could manage and hear your answer. So, Jacques, maybe some advice for our Dutch entrepreneurs looking at this right now.
First of all, it's always not that easy what I think. Yes, that's the first step. Yes, because when you come to Portugal, first the language is not that easy, and you have to learn language. Not everybody speaks really good English. The second point is you must work with people that thinking different than the Dutch, and And when you do it like the Dutch way, and then you lose some working with the local people, and that's really important in this case, because they have to do the jobs, and they have to do your work, and I'm integrated now already more and more. Takes me also a few years, yes. It's nice to see Chris, because one of my managers went to him in Vietnam. But it's and then also to the government is not always flexible to give you a license to grow, and we like to have for everything licensed, because that's the way we're thinking. But in Portugal, they start the growers there. They start a company and they license, yes. But we want to have license because we came from another country. We invest a lot of money, yes, and it takes a little bit more time with the local authorities, and the local authorities also, it's not they are not that fast, especially for example the cool store in what I building in Penguins. It takes me more or less 3 years to get the right license, and still the final license I didn't receive. But okay, but that's the authorities. But the climate is good. The labor is when you find the right person, for sure they are good, and a lot cheaper than Holland. And also there's a lot of chances to do a good job in Portugal. And also what is also good is the transport between Holland and also Portugal. It's a lot of transport companies. They are, and I think also Spain, Holland, yes. And sometimes it's cheaper to bring. I have clients in Italy. It's cheaper to bring first our products to Holland and then to Italy, then directly to Italy, because the Dutch, they're really so good in transport. Is amazing. Yes, they organize everything fast and well, and on the right time.
So the connection is very valuable in this case. Make sure you have the right network to transport the way you want to.
That's really, and also the climate, the workers, the water, and everything. It's okay. But I tell you one thing: I'm fighting already 22 years that I receive 1 penny of subsidizing in my company. Also now when I built the cool store, I tried to get some subsidy, but it's hard to get it. Maybe I didn't find the right people, but or it's just closed, or the pot is empty, or it's always something. Yes,
Jacques, it sounds like you need to use the B2Match platform that we are on right now, because I think we have the people on the platform for the experts for today who can help you out with that.
Good to hear.
Jan, maybe some final advice from you.
Final advice? No, of course, you have to adapt to the situation. You have to bear in mind that you, as was also said in the beginning, we have another horticulture model. A Dutch grower in a greenhouse is used to work with a cost price of about 40 euros per square meter per year. So he has to produce 70 kilos of tomato, 30 kilos of sweet pepper. In Spain, the average cost price per square meter is 7 euros. So even if his harvest is only 25% of what you harvest in Holland, the cost price is still lower. But it does mean that people are working with far smaller investments. So anything you try to promote, or anything everything you try to implement must be accessible. You cannot ask people to make a big investment to get it paid off in 10 years. People are calculating on far shorter term. So that's I think the biggest difference between the Dutch and the Spanish. The Spanish cannot plan their activities on a very long time scale. It has to be very quickly. They have to find profitability, so it has to be an easy calculation with a rather small investment. That's the most important thing I think everybody should have in mind when you come with some suggestions over here.
Good. Thank you so much. Christian, maybe a one-liner in advice for the people at home?
Mechanization. That is a key in the outdoor farming. I mean, I spoke to several clients and I proposed to them, what would you invest in? And they say mechanization, harvesting till, because people harvest on the field and send it directly to the export countries. But they still use many people. They have 500-600 laborers. Labor is getting more and more expensive, less manageable. So I think mechanization is a big issue. And actually, we are, as a seed company, even looking into good varieties for harvesting mechanically. But we need the machines. So that's Holland is good at machines. So
good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, all of you, to share your expertise and your experience with the people watching from home. I think that was very valuable. Thank you, Jan van der Blom, Christian Reiners, and Sjaak van Schie to be in this second half of our webinar today. We've already come to the final minute, I should say, of this webinar. Unfortunately, we go very quickly. So Ferry, I'm sorry we could not get back to you, but hopefully you get some contacts via the B2Match app as well, because that's the place where everybody can be reached. So make sure entrepreneurs at home to use that network and to establish those connections, because as you can see, even Sjaak, who has been there for 22 years, needs to find some people on the B2Match platform. So make sure to use that. I would like to thank, of course, Cindy van Rijswijk and Manuel Valverde, of course, and Ferry Eindhoven, as I just said, for joining us in the first half. Good for you to know. During the break time, you have the possibility for one-on-one conversations with some advisors, of course, of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency and the NBSOs, and of course the network abroad and the B2Match platform. You can also find some interesting articles and enterprise agency instruments about those funding, very important. And let me have a look. Oh, that's the thing I wanted to say. In a week time, you will receive an email with the links so you can watch these webinars on demand. But there's also a link to an evaluation. And we would like to ask you, kindly request you to do that evaluation. So we know how to better the system, how to better these webinars for our next event. So thank you so much for your time on behalf of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Have a good day and have fun doing business.